Hey everybody, I'm Chef Tom with allthingsbbq.com, and this is Loaded Brisket Fries. Today we're doing some serious guilty pleasure comfort food. I figure if you're not gonna do it often, you better do it big. So we're starting off with homemade potato wedges that's crusted in panko and Parmesan, topped with smoked brisket, 3 different sauces and a number of different toppings. So let's jump right in by preparing the brisket. All right, so we are cooking the brisket flat today. This is the part that you turn into slices. We have Creekstone Farms to thank for sending us over a nice prime brisket. This one's gonna be good. And I've already done a good amount of trimming on this. There's not much to do. I'm trying to leave about 1/4 inch of fat where I can on top of here. I might just go ahead and score the top a little bit just to give us some little nooks and crannies for our rub to get down in. This isn't even necessary. You don't have to do this, but it's a nice little trick if you wanna really work that seasoning in. Before we get to the seasoning, we're gonna do a little injection. So the base for our injection is just gonna be beef stock. We've got 1 cup of that. We're gonna add to that 1/4 cup of Worcestershire sauce and 1/4 cup of the Kozlik's Dijon Classique. So we're going for some really savory flavors here on our brisket fries. This isn't necessarily gonna be a sweet brisket. We're going the other direction with it today. And just give that a good shake, get everything incorporated. And then we're gonna save half of this to put into the wrap when we wrap this with foil later, and half of it we're gonna inject into the brisket. So I'll go ahead and pour off about half of that now. And we're using the pistol grip injector today. This is my favorite injection tool right here. It's so easy to use. Tighten that up. And we'll load it up with our beef stock Dijon Worcestershire combo. So what we're looking to do here is I'm looking at the grains of the meat run in this direction. I'm gonna come in at a 90-degree angle. I'm gonna poke around a little bit to create a little pocket, and we're just gonna pump that up. And we're gonna work in a grid pattern here, just hitting every couple of inches in a grid until we've filled this thing up with injection. And what that's gonna do for us is offer not only a lot of extra moisture, but a lot of extra flavor as well. Don't be concerned that some of that's coming back out, because plenty of it's staying in there. It kind of lets you know how much it can hold. As soon as it starts to come back out at you, you know it's time to go to the next spot. You can actually see how this thing fills up. When you pump it in, it shoots right down those strands of the muscle, just filling up the inside as much as it can. So we used up most of that. What we want to do now is just get kind of the excess moisture off of the outside. It's okay to leave a little bit behind because it will help the rub to stick, but we don't want to wash that rub off of there. So for the seasoning today, we're using the Cattleman's Grill California Tri-Tip. Big steak rub flavors going on here. It's a very savory rub, salt, pepper, garlic, onion, big chunks of it. Some chili flake in there, some red bell pepper. Like I said, we're gonna keep it savory today. And that only needs to sit as long as it takes for it to tack up on the surface and attach. You're not gonna hurt anything if you do this the night before, but you don't need to. Now today we're gonna be smoking on the Yoder Smoker's YS640S pellet grill. We're running at 250 degrees with our contest mix of cherry and pecan pellets. And we've got a brisket that's already been on since early this morning, almost 8 hours now, that's temping around 165 internal. And it's ready to wrap. So we're gonna get our raw brisket on there, we're gonna pull our other brisket off and go through the wrapping process. Now I don't want you to get too caught up in time right now because what we're really looking for is color. So come on in here and I'll show you what we're talking about. So here's our brisket flat. We've added the smoke tube today to really inject some extra smoke flavor and color on these. And you can see that we're getting a really nice bark on the outside. We've also got spots where that fat is pooling on the surface. These are all signs that we're ready to wrap. but really it's that nice dark, kind of reddish mahogany color that we're going for. We'll go ahead and get the raw brisket on here. We're gonna go on the bottom with this one. I'm gonna do fat side down because we're on the bottom. We want that little bit extra thermal barrier for the radiant heat that's coming off the plate. All right, so we're gonna go right on top of a couple sheets of foil here. I'm gonna take that reserved injection liquid and pour it over the top. Maybe about a third of a cup, I would guess, is how much you want in there. And then we're just gonna wrap this up nice and tight. And then back onto the grill. Just put it right back in that same spot. We're gonna get our probe inserted into the thickest part of the brisket there. And we'll let this ride until we hit about 205 or so, and then we're gonna start really probing for doneness to see how tender it is. Now the brisket's just about done, and it's gonna need a little rest time, but we can start to work on some of the other components for our loaded brisket fries. Now I mentioned there's gonna be 3 sauces. One's a barbecue sauce, easy. The other one is a garlic, kind of modern aioli kind of sauce. I don't care if that one is warm when we serve it, so we'll go ahead and make that one next, and then we'll get to our cheese sauce last. So we're gonna start with just a tablespoon of unsalted butter, and then I've got a couple cloves of garlic that we're gonna break down on the microplane to just kind of melt right in with this butter. And we're simply looking to get this garlic warmed through. It doesn't need to be like browned necessarily. And then we're gonna go ahead and mix this up with some mayo and some Dijon. So essentially just making a little bit of garlic butter right now. So just as this starts to get a little bit golden, I'm gonna take that off the heat. So we're gonna add that garlic butter to a half cup of mayo. And we'll add to that about 1.5 teaspoons of our Kozlik's Dijon. Gonna mix that up, transfer it over to a squeeze bottle, and that's it. Super easy. So I got about 2 pounds of russet potatoes. We're gonna get these peeled, and then we're gonna cut them into wedges. So we're just gonna go about 1/2 inch right here as far as the width of the wedges goes. Something close to that. We want these to get done cooking in about 30 minutes roast time on the grill. So we're gonna hit these potato wedges now with a little bit of olive oil just to get them all coated. And then we'll go ahead and put these on our sheet pan. I'm not gonna worry about positioning them just yet because we're gonna do that little bit of Parmesan panko crust on these first. So we're gonna throw together a 1/2 cup of panko, a 1/4 cup of fine grated Parmesan, and then a tablespoon of Arbut's steak rub. And then that's gonna go on the outside of our potato wedges. We'll just kind of toss these to coat them. And then we want these all in one layer. We don't want them sitting on top of one another. So now these are gonna be all trayed up and ready to go once we get that brisket off and crank the temperature up inside the grill. Well, our brisket flat is finally at the finish line. It's been a long run today. Now, typically, one of these flats will be done in about 8 to 9 hours. Today, it's been 12 hours. And this is why we talk about don't cook to time, cook to feel. or even a temperature. We're up above 205 on the internal temperature today. Why did it take so long? I don't know. Maybe it's the weather. Maybe it's just this particular brisket, the size of it. There's so many factors. But we don't need to linger and think about it too much. Our brisket's done. Let's get it off the grill and let's fire off these potatoes. Let's open this up. You see that we've got our probe kind of in the thickest part of this brisket. And that was reading at 208. But more importantly, as we start to just kind of poke around here, there just shouldn't be much resistance. And we're really getting there finally. So I'm gonna say that this is ready to come off and rest while we cook those fries. Now we wanna crank the grill up to 425 so that we can cook off these potato wedges, but word to the wise, go ahead and move your grates around, scrape off that grease from the deflector, or you're gonna have a total smoke show when this thing gets hot. All right, so we're going on the bottom just so we can get some nice browning started on the bottom of our potato wedges. Now for our last little project while these potatoes are cooking, we're gonna put together a cheese sauce. So we're gonna start off with a half cup of heavy cream. So we've got 2 cheeses we're working with today, 2 ounces of each. This is a provolone here. And then we need to grate up some of our truffled pecorino. So this is a really great soft cheese, but you can see it's got that truffle running throughout it. Just gonna grate this down super fine, and it'll melt right into that cream. I'll smell the truffle immediately. So as soon as we get that cream coming up to a simmer, we're gonna lower the heat a bit, and we're gonna start to add our cheeses, just a little bit at a time, whisking until it's melted, and then we'll add a little bit more. This is just a super simple cheese sauce. Simply cream and a couple of your favorite cheeses. I chose the provolone and the truffled pecorino because I think it's gonna go really great with the brisket flavors that we have going on today. I'm gonna turn this heat off completely now, and we're gonna hit this with just about a teaspoon of hot sauce. Get that Cattleman's Pit fire. All right, so smells incredible. We'll just throw a lid on it to keep it warm until the potatoes are done. All right, it's been about 15 minutes now, guys. What I wanna do here is just give these a little turn so we can brown them on both sides a little bit. Just work our way through this whole pan, turn these around a little bit, and then we're gonna go 15 minutes once again. So I'm just kind of isolating a section here. This is what we're gonna actually use for the fries today. We're not doing slices, we're just kind of doing a chopped brisket here, so we can come in here with some thick strips of it, kind of chop it down. I mean, at this point, this stuff, it can be pulled right apart. Oh, look at the fat on that. We barely even have to use a knife to get it to chunk up. But we're essentially just looking to get some nice chunks of brisket to throw on top of the fries. Oh yeah. Falling right apart. Nice to have that little bit of fat on the top of it. It's got just a bit of spice kick to it from that California tri-tip. It's just a peppery heat though, it's not over the top. All right, that is looking good. We're getting some nice browning on the outsides of those. Check for tenderness. Nice and tender in the center. 30 minutes in there, let's pull it out. So let's go ahead and load up our potato wedges into our serving container here. Sprinkle a little of that extra crunchy on top. All right, so we're gonna top our fries off with some of our chopped brisket. We've got a little bit of caramelized onion just cooked down in butter until it's slightly crispy over low heat. I'm gonna get some pickles on top too. These are a sweet and spicy garlic dill pickle. Just give them a little chop here. Spread the love around. Now let's hit them with some of those sauces. We got that truffled pecorino provolone cheese sauce. Got our garlic sauce. And last, we've got some barbecue sauce. We've got the Night of the Living barbecue sauce. It's a spicy Kansas City style sauce. Oh yeah. Man. Potatoes and meat. What a beautiful combination. And this is smoky. We had that nice long smoke on the brisket today, and you can taste it for sure. I'm loving the cheese sauce on top. The barbecue sauce offers just a little bit of sweetness, the tang from the pickles. Potatoes are crispy around the edge, but fluffy in the middle. It's a pretty nice mess of textures and flavors. There's a lot going on. Probably gonna take a few more bites to really understand it all, so leave me to it. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to check out allthingsbbq.com for all the products featured in today's video. If you enjoy the recipe, hit that subscribe button. And if you have any questions or comments, or there's anything you'd like to see me cook, let me know in the comment section down below, and let's be good to one another. For more recipes, tips, and techniques, head over to allthingsbbq.com/thesauce. All things barbecue, where barbecue legends are made.